WPTV Treasure Coast News starts now.
The tropics are active. The rain is here. Taking action now to prepare is key. Ahead, how to get your home ready for storm season, both inside and out. Plus, help is on the way for those struggling with surging utility costs. Coming up, why officials in one city had to stop taking applications. Well, good evening and welcome to Treasure Coast News on WPTV News Channel 5. Every Saturday at 7 o'clock, join us right here for dedicated coverage of stories and issues in and around the Treasure Coast from Stewart to Sebastian. And we begin tonight in the tropics, where all the attention is on Tropical Storm Ian. Meteorologist Kate Wenzel with the latest track. Kate?
Yeah, John, we have been watching Ian now very closely for a couple days, and Ian is about to intensify rapidly. Now, right now, maximum winds only at 45, but because it's moving into an area of lower wind shear plus very, very hot sea surface temperatures, it is going to be a hurricane likely by tomorrow, and then all the way up to a major hurricane before expected to strengthen to a Cat 4. All right, so Ian is moving to the west at 16, max winds at 45 miles per hour. Now let's show you the forecast track that just came down at 5 o'clock. It is going to be moving into the central Caribbean by tomorrow afternoon, winds of 70, and then a Cat 1 hurricane by early Monday morning with winds of 85. It looks to just graze the western tip of Cuba as a Cat 3. That's not going to slow it down at all, and it is expected to strengthen to a Cat 4 in the Gulf of Mexico. So the latest trends have been for the track to shift west. That's great news for us, but we don't want to let down our guard, so we'll continue to watch it. But right now, it does seem like it is going to have the biggest impacts on the west coast, perhaps the panhandle, but again, it could be at either edge of the cone. So we're watching very closely. Coming up, I'll have more on Ian, plus your local weather for the rest of the weekend.
School leaders around the area, including in Martin County, have been monitoring the tropics this past week and talked with us about possible plans in case of a potential impact.
Our team began just putting information out to our principals today. They'll be taking what we call our 800 radios, our 800 megahertz radios home over the weekend. It's kind of a practice thing. We get a call in, everybody, we have a check-in, just make sure we get everybody on their radio. They're familiar with how to answer it. We have some new staff members. So we're just kind of going through the motions.
Martin County students are off on Monday for a fall holiday. In St. Lucie County Public Schools, leaders tell us they met with principals on Friday to review protocols, and plant managers are doing initial assessments of their campuses. Indian River County school leaders say they're not currently prepping campuses for an event until they're directed to do so. We didn't hear back from leaders in Okeechobee County. Well, before any possible storm, it's important to prepare your home both inside and out. Clearing yard debris can greatly reduce the risk of damage. WPTV's Joel Lopez was in Port St. Lucie and has a few words of advice that were shared from a local tree company.
The key is to prepare even if there isn't a storm on the radar, because once there is, tree companies book up quick and you could be left with a pile like this one that could become projectiles.
We're going to cut this back a little bit.
When it comes to hurricanes,
the branches were hitting the roof and hanging out over the power line, about a third away into the street.
people like Barry Griffin say taking care of your landscaping is just as important as supplies.
Being a native Floridian, trees, branches hit your roof, hit your awning, and worst part is, hit your neighbors too. You don't want to be liable for that.
So looking at this now, is the tree storm ready?
Yes, 100%. It's storm ready. It's hurricane cut. It's ready to go.
Griffin called the company Two Tree Fellers to help with his preparedness plan.
We've been getting slammed. A bunch of people always getting with these storms starting to brew up and stuff.
They say it's important not to wait until the last minute to call a professional ahead of a storm.
Not even just your trees. If you got just debris lying around, flower pots, etc., you want to bring them inside.
And companies like Two Tree Fellers will also haul away branches after the job is done.
Trees don't grow that fast, about once a year. Just get them trimmed, get them tightened up for these storms just in case.
In Port St. Lucie, Solid Waste Company FCC says they will operate as normal leading up to a storm, but will work on increasing resources based on demand. In Port St. Lucie, Joel Lopez, WPTV, News Channel 5.
If there is a hurricane set to come to the area, the city of Port St. Lucie has a contract with a third-party hauler to sweep the city before any storm. Well, the city of Port St. Lucie is helping some homeowners cover the cost of home repairs. The city was awarded $3 million from the Florida Housing Finance Corporation. It will be used for the city's homeowner repair and rehab assistance program. It's designed to help homeowners who are considered low income. Pre-application list will open on Monday, October 3rd. Relief may be on the way for hundreds of residents struggling with high utility bills in Fort Pierce. Early this past Monday, the city began accepting applications for assistance, but within an hour, they had to stop. As I found out, the need continues to be greater than what many agencies can provide. At Inlet Bait and Tackle in Fort Pierce,
I know this is a really hard month for us.
owner Jay Sohan hears from his customers that he's not alone when it comes to high utility bills.
A lot of my customers come in here, they were talking like, their bill from 300, it's like double.
And when fewer shrimp are being bought here, that cuts into his profits.
It takes a lot, we gotta sell a lot of stuff to make that money to pay that bill.
High utility bills have been an issue for some time in Fort Pierce. Monday, the city had a plan to help.
We were trying to respond to the need that was very apparent to us.
$250 payments were being offered to income-eligible residents. At 8 a.m., they started accepting applications, but by 9 a.m., they had to stop.
That was a little alarming to me. We just opened the portal this morning, and within an hour, we had over 500 applicants for the program.
Right now, city staff is reviewing those applications. The city commission had allocated $125,000 in American Rescue Act money for utility relief. No word on when or if additional funding will be made available.
That's a good question. I don't have a really good answer right now. I think we continue to listen to the community.
And it's not just the city trying to lend a hand. Community groups are helping to fill the void.
Right now, if you have an astronomical utility bill, it could be devastating.
The Incubate Neighborhood Center on 13th Street acts as a community resource. This past spring, they provided utility bill help for 700 residents.
Some even slept in their cars overnight.
Back at Inlet Bait and Tackle,
One freezer is off.
Jay Sohan is hoping a similar utility aid program could be put in place for small businesses like his. So he
Just keep that bill down, I believe I could survive.
doesn't sink.
Over the last 2 decades, bank robberies have plummeted across the Treasure Coast. The same trend was seen across Florida, too. TC Palm's top premium story this week looks at why the brazen act of robbing a bank has dramatically decreased since the turn of the 21st century. Statewide, 448 bank robberies were reported in 2003. 15 years later, in 2018, there were just 168 reported. Last year, the FBI only investigated 69 bank robberies in Florida, according to public records TC Palm obtained. The Treasure Coast follows similar trends. Last year, most local law enforcement agencies did not investigate any bank robberies. Port St. Lucie handled just one in 2021. Investigators say multiple factors likely contribute to the steep decrease in bank robberies. Most say advancements in technology and security systems, including high-definition video that can quickly be posted across social media, likely play important roles. Others add the risk is high and the payoff is low, so it's simply not worth it anymore. However, financial cybercrimes are way up. They can be more profitable and done from behind a computer screen from anywhere in the world, which officials say makes it more difficult to investigate. To see a breakdown of Florida bank robberies in the last 2 decades, and for more exclusive Treasure Coast content like this, visit tcpalm.com/premium. I'm Executive Editor Adam Neal for TC Palm.
Well, Port St. Lucie's paving the way for continued growth, but as a result, many now seeing heavy congestion on St. Lucie West Boulevard. After the break, Contact 5 looks into the causes and possible solutions that lie ahead. The pet stores hoping to save their businesses before a countywide ban goes into effect. Tonight, why county leaders are considering changing the rules against the wishes of some animal advocates.
And we are tracking some rain right now across portions of the Treasure Coast. So will it continue through your Saturday night? I'll have the forecast plus another look at Tropical Storm Ian.
This is WPTV Treasure Coast News.
Well, thousands of commuters in Port St. Lucie often battle I-95's traffic and bottlenecks as they make their way to work in Palm Beach County. But as Contact 5 investigator Dave Bobin shows you, the trip from their homes just to get onto the interstate can be the toughest part of that morning drive.
Good morning, everyone. We've got traffic for you.
Bottlenecks, frequent stops, frustration.
Cars are in the middle of the intersection. No one can get through there.
The morning commute on St. Lucie West Boulevard.
All day long, it's just a mess.
At sunrise, sometimes sooner, James Rich starts his daily drive.
Traffic has just increased exponentially in the last 5 years, I would say. It takes longer to get to work.
In the first mile of his weekday morning commute to Riviera Beach, James runs into heavy traffic by the Renaissance Charter School.
This school, this close to the intersection at this time of the morning has really put a challenge on the roadway.
A quarter mile away,
we're now turning on the St. Lucie West Boulevard. This is the beginning of really the worst part of it. It will back up from here.
A backup at rush hour. Busy all day long.
Every day, all day.
I have sat here for, 10 minutes on some days.
The Florida Department of Transportation's traffic counts show more cars and trucks driving on St. Lucie West Boulevard than on any stretch of the Florida Turnpike in St. Lucie County. Does that surprise you?
No, actually it doesn't surprise me. It's the price of growth, but it's also the price of proper planning for a city that was never properly planned.
Mayor Shannon Martin says developers did not plan for traffic tie-ups when building Port St. Lucie as a bedroom community for seniors. Road crews are widening St. Lucie West and Port St. Lucie Boulevard, the city's two busiest streets. All of this to ease the traffic crunch.
We still have a lot more people moving to Port St. Lucie than, ever before. And as long as that continues, we're just going to have to keep doing our very best to keep up with it.
Keeping up may not be easy. Port St. Lucie's Planning and Zoning Department reports the city approved construction for almost 50,000 new homes. Many are expected to be built soon. That's because Port St. Lucie has what most communities in the Palm Beaches and along the Treasure Coast don't: land to build on.
But people keep coming here. That's the problem.
James Rich says his drive home becomes a problem when the I-95 northbound off-ramp at St. Lucie West backs up to the interstate.
It's more of a traffic hazard getting off 95 at 5:30, 6 o'clock because you're going 60, 70 miles an hour or more down to stop traffic in a right lane. Extremely dangerous.
How hopeful are you that the traffic infrastructure will catch up to the population?
Very hopeful, and sooner the better.
In Port St. Lucie, Dave Bowman, WPTV News Channel 5.
And as Dave reported, Port St. Lucie's rapid growth is a major contributor to its traffic tie-ups. The U.S. Census Bureau projects it will soon be Florida's 6th largest city. You can go to our website at WPTV.com to see just how fast Port St. Lucie has grown over the last century. Well, a drainage problem at Clover Park, the home of the St. Lucie Mets and spring home to the New York Mets, could cost more than $2 million to fix. Clover Park was built back in 1988. Now, since the St. Lucie Mets just wrapped up a championship season, the county has a small window to deal with the drainage issues in the infield before winter workouts.
Through this bid process, we're going to be going out and raising the field slightly some, improving the irrigation and the drainage inside the main part of the stadium to help with those games and keep the water off the fields.
Repairs would be paid for through the county's bed tax. In just a few months, it will be illegal to sell dogs, cats, or rabbits in Martin County, but things could get complicated. The County Commission could consider changing the rule. Owners of the 2 existing pet stores in Martin County selling animals feel this is their last chance to save their businesses. WPTV's Treasure Coast News' Megan McRoberts with this update.
When this vote to ban the sale of dogs, cats, and rabbits in Martin County passed back in June, Jill Scott, who owns the Noble Paw in Stewart, says she knew nothing about the hearing.
The best way to describe it is we felt like the air got sucked out of our lungs.
The county says it advertised the meeting in the paper and on its website, 2 places Scott says she doesn't regularly check. So she says she didn't know her new business, one of just 2 pet stores in the county, would now have to change their business model without having a say.
So again, we want to speak up for ourselves. We want to defend defend our reputation, defend who we are as people.
Under the ban, she would be allowed to keep selling retail products, but no longer animals. She says that could affect her ability to afford her 5-year lease.
So if this goes away, I'm ruined.
I feel very hesitant to have that ordinance, which was well intended, I think, and had a good purpose, to have a negative impact on a business owner who has signed a lease.
Tuesday, the county will take up the issue again at the request of Commissioner Stacey Hetherington.
So appreciative of Ms. Hetherington and just the opportunity to be heard.
Commissioners could make one of 3 decisions: either keep the ban as is, which is set to go into place in December, extend the time businesses have to stop selling animals to next June, or completely revisit the ban, which could be reversing it or allowing existing businesses to be grandfathered in.
And we would like to ask them to take this ordinance and throw it away and include us in the redrafting of one that we feel can really make a difference.
But animal activists and rescue groups, including the Humane Society of the United States, are urging the county to make no changes to the ban. Other Martin County residents emailing county leaders to uphold it. But Scott says despite how people feel about her business, she says any small business should have input in decisions that affect them.
You know, we put our whole life savings into this.
Megan McRoberts, WPTV, News Channel 5.
Well, it's a little bit of everything today. We saw some beautiful blue skies, dark skies, storms, and you know, that's oftentimes our weather here in South Florida. So the skies were very interesting, some cool cloud formations from our Jonathan Dickinson State Park camera, and things are looking pretty good right now at 7:15. The rain is starting to taper off a bit. Temperatures right now 75 in Port St. Lucie, 76 Vero Beach, 75 Okeechobee, a little warmer for Stewart, 82 there, 80 degrees in Sebastian. So here's Viper radar, and as you can see, some mainly just light rain at this point across Martin County and across Lake Okeechobee, but everything is starting to quiet down. More activity right now across Palm Beach County, and we're going to leave the chance of some scattered storms in the forecast through the next few hours, and then pretty much just a better chance of a few light showers as we get into the second half of your Saturday evening. Well, this is the big story, Tropical Storm Ian. And Ian is looking pretty organized on the satellite imagery. In fact, it is expected to intensify very quickly over the next 24 to 36 hours. Right now, it's moving to the west at 16, max winds only at 45, but by tomorrow at this time, it is expected to have winds of 70 miles per hour by 2 o'clock Sunday afternoon, and then at Cat 1 by early Monday morning. It is then going to intensify all the way to a Cat 3 right before it grazes the western edge of Cuba, but it's really not going to have enough land interaction to weaken it, so it will strengthen even more in the warm waters of the Gulf to a Cat 4. So this is very important where it goes from here as far as our impacts. Of course, a track further to the west will have fewer impacts, and the tracks have been trending westward over the last several advisories from the National Hurricane Center. So good news for us. It looks like this is going to be a much bigger deal, the west coast of Florida and the Panhandle, but we don't want to drop our guard, so we're going to continue to watch it, even though most of our area is now officially out of the cone. So spaghetti models in a slightly better agreement, but actually the European is the one that has it furthest to the east, taking it inland over the Tampa Bay area, where the majority of the models keep it over the Panhandle of Florida. So we do have a hurricane warning for Grand Cayman tonight, and probability of tropical storm force winds here in West Palm only at 20%. So again, we are optimistically staying cautious, but hopefully the trends will continue to take the storm to our west. We're going to be watching the tropics though very closely Monday through Wednesday, then we'll start to get back to a regular pattern by next weekend.
Here are your Treasure Coast sports highlights with the ESPN 1063 sports team.
What's going on, everybody? Terry Smith from ESPN 1063. The Martin Bowl was last night, and let me tell you, it was a thriller. Our Theo Dorsey has more with that story. Check it out.
We don't care what you do for the season. You got to be South Florida.
The Martin Bowl is the SEC of rivalries in South Florida. It just means more. Ask anyone who's played in one.
When you walk out to the Martin Bowl, it's like there's people on the fence. There's people in the parking lot. There's people at the concession stands. There's people all up in the crowd. There's no space for everyone.
Standing room only. I think both sides, both stands are going to get full.
And then people surround the field, and it gives it some sort of arena feel.
Just how they like it. Martin County took down South Fork 35-7 in front of a packed crowd. The Tigers have now won 10 of the last 13 in this rivalry. Another feather in the cap for the Tigers in a game with some familiar foes.
Well, they've known each other. They grew up with each other the whole time, so they know the ins and outs, the strengths and weaknesses of their opponents from both sides. And like I said, it's fun. It's like playing your brother.
As for South Fork, it's a loss that hurts. They dropped to 1-4, but the Bulldogs know their front-heavy schedule will have them ready for the big show.
By the time we get to our district games, we feel that we've set up a schedule tough enough to say when we get there, we are prepared enough to play the district schedule and get a chance at a title.
Antoine Blatch went 4-0 in Martin Bowls when he played for the Bulldogs in the 90s. He knows how important this game will be for his players for years to come.
It's still bragging rights. So I got guys I played against in the late 90s. I still call them up. Hey, man, still 4. We got 4 of them.
The trophy doesn't change hands here. Martin County improves to 4-1 on the season with a 3rd straight Martin Bowl win, just as they predicted before the game was kicked off.
We're going to keep the trophy here. We're Gucci. We're Gucci.
Coming up after the break, the Martin County organization looking to boost kids' confidence with a fresh new look. A special little boy from Port St. Lucie recovering from a whirlwind weekend where he was the center of attention in the center of the world. And that is Preston Leonard being featured on a giant electronic billboard in the heart of Times Square. The 6-year-old parent submitted his photo to the National Down Syndrome Society, where he was one of 500 kids nationwide who was selected to be put up on the Jumbotron. The event was to kick off the New York City Buddy Walk.
Sometimes I think it's hard when you have a child with special needs. Like, you feel like maybe, I don't want to say forgotten, but maybe they're not viewed as much as maybe like the typical, children.
It was the Leonards' first trip to New York, and Preston was one of 2 Treasure Coast kids who was featured in Times Square. Well, this October, you can help support Alzheimer's awareness on the Treasure Coast as families come together for the Walk to End Alzheimer's. The event taking place October 15th at Indian Riverside Park. Registration begins at 8, followed by a ceremony and a walk at 9 a.m. I have emceed this event in the past. It's a great event. To learn how you can support the people who are living with Alzheimer's, you can visit alz.org. And tonight, we're shining a light on a Martin County nonprofit helping provide clothes for thousands of children. Caring Children, Clothing Children is all about boosting kids' confidence by making sure that their closets are full.
Well, basically, what it really helps with is a couple different things. It helps with the child building their self-esteem, so they feel better about going to school and about how they look, and they look more like their friends, and that makes them a little bit more comfortable.
And the organization also has a mobile van that can head out into the community to provide clothes for kids in need.
And here's a look at your extended forecast. So tomorrow, pretty typical weather, hot and humid with a 50% chance of scattered storms. Monday, better chance of rain, and it's really Tuesday, Wednesday, and a little bit of Thursday. We are watching the tropics. The latest trends are really good, but we'll have the next update for you tonight at 11.
Thanks so much for joining us for Treasure Coast News here on WPTV. Catch us again next Saturday for stories that highlight the diversity of the Treasure Coast. To find more stories about what's happening and get you prepared for the tropics, also on WPTV.com. Stay safe out there. Have a great night. We'll see you back here at 11.